Bonjour, good morning, good afternoon, Sazon Café. Non moi c'est Saint-Tesselio. Et puis horia moi voulais tout pour rester là. Et puis garder ça moi café. Horia moi qu'à build les dresser draw. Ça c'est un gift pour les mettre en dire à moi. Et puis moi qu'à montrer pour tout le monde qui veut garder. And I hope you like it. Hit the like button and subscribe for more videos to come. So let's get ready to build. Now before we start, I want everybody to know that we lost a few footage. So we're going to show you from where we left off, and we're going to continue on from there. Everything you start to build is really a box until you make it to look how you want it to look. Well, we went down to our local lumber yard and get some plywood that we needed, and also some poplar wood for our face frame. We got home, took measurement, made our first cut, then we started to build. So I just want you to take a look at what I was doing. Now this is where we left off at, and this is what we have. We made it as big and wide as we wanted, 3 foot 10 inches by 25.5 inches. And then we start to make our cuts for the drawer. This right here is only just a rough cut. We're gonna cut it down to size, and then afterward take it to the table saw. And right here we're gonna speed it up a little bit, so we can cut it all down and then take it to the table saw to cut it to its actual size. We made a total of 4 drawers all together. And here we are cutting it down to its size. And you can see every time we went to make a cut, you can see all the sawdust in the back of us. That's why it's always good to use your proper PPE, your personal protective equipment. Use your safety glasses, your earplugs. Always protect your lungs. Wear your respirator whenever working with sawdust around you. We ended up buying a dust collector, but we never had time to mount it up. That will be our next task. But we had our dust vac on the side of us, but we never used it. But if you notice, we always wearing our proper PPE that we need. It's always good to protect yourself. See here, I'm dusting myself. And you can still see all the sawdust on my clothes. And we was trying to speed it up a little bit because we was on our way to California and we was pressed for time, so we started to put all the pocket holes in it and then load it up on the truck. But while we was doing that, we decided, just to put one up. So we started to put one together just to see how it is and just make a test run to fit it in the drawer and the dresser just to see how it fits. And if the first one worked, well, then we know it all works. Before we started even working on building this dresser drawer, we laid everything out on a software called SketchUp. It was kind of hard at first to use it, but we kept on trying to use it. And then at the end, it worked out pretty good. So before I started doing anything, I had all my cut size, all my dimension. And that was good for my first time doing this. So from now on, before we even start to build anything, we'll try to draw it on SketchUp. And we made a total of 4 drawers, like we said, all together. And we made them 15.25 inches by 18.5. And here we are cutting the bottom of the drawer before we cut it down in half. And we end up using our table sled, which didn't work out pretty good. It was kind of stiff. It's been so long time since we've used it, so I guess it kind of expanded. So we end up changing course and do it the real way. And right here we was testing it out. It worked out pretty good. And using the router on the 2x4, this right here was an experiment to us. This was our first time ever making any kind of type of molding. And we end up using a 2x4 to make the molding rather than using a 1x. And in the end, we're going to show you a freeze frame so you can see exactly what we was doing. The 2x4 that we was working on was 20 feet long, and this same molding that we was making, we ended up using it also when we was building the shoe rack. So right here, while we was working on the dresser drawer, we was also working on the shoe rack, but we ended up putting out the shoe rack video before the dresser drawer. If you have any comments or questions or bad comments, it's welcome at the bottom. We can only learn from it. The router bit that we was using was a large round over bit. And this was not only the first molding right here we was making, we also made another one out of, it was cove molding. And that was a different size bit that we used. And here is the cut that we made. And you can see how long it is. We have to cut it in half. And now we put it through the table saw. As you can see, we don't have an outfeed table right now working with. We was getting ready to leave town. That's why you can see my outfeed table is full of plywood on top of it. And here's a close-up of what we were talking about. Don't know if you can see it too good, but in the end of the video, you will see it on the dresser drawer. All the wood you see on my outfeed table, that was for another project. We was about to work on a queen side bed frame, but we ended up getting hurt, pulling the muscle on our arm, so we didn't have time to build it. But here we are, finished cutting out the molding, and we just cutting all of them out and just set it aside for when we need them, rather than we need them and cut the wrong size. And you can see right here we're using the router, and this was the front of the drawer. We ended up making that 23 inches wide by 14¼ high. And we kept on going in one direction every time, most of the way, taking off half of the wood before we started going back and forth. That was only just to prevent tear outs. Because one of the first one that we tried doing, we started just going back and forth as soon as we started and ended up getting a tear out. So to prevent any tear out, we started going in one direction at first, going along with the grain to prevent any tear outs. We will also give you a close-up of this. And right after that was our time to get on the road. And you can see right here, don't know if you can see it too good, but we're not finished. We just want to show it to you. We still have to do some standing right there. And we was on our road trip. Thank God I had my lovely wife on my side to help me doing the driving. And we had a pretty good trip going back. And we made it safe and sound by the grace of God to California. Yes, you can see there's chickens in the back. We was at our cousin Minister Nathan's house in his backyard with his friendly chickens. And you can see right here we're building the drawer. Now we're putting them together. And if you notice, we're not using in the pocket holes with the screw. We end up using brad nails. My cousin had a compressor, so we end up using his compressor and started using the brad nails rather than using the screws in the pocket hole. And you can see the drawer here, you can see the pocket hole that's in it. Even the bottom piece that we're about to put on right now, you can see all the pocket holes. But on this one, this was the first one right here. We end up only using a total, I believe, of 4 screws altogether, 1 on each side to hold it in place. And afterwards, we end up also putting brad nails on it to hold it in place. My cousin was a big help to me in doing the drawer. We had to cut it down 1/4 inch, and he had a left-handed saw, so rather than me cutting off my fingers, I allow him to do the cutting. And he liked doing the woodwork, so he'll be coming out with his video real soon, so look out for him. Then we start to install all the drawers, pulling the slide all the way to the front, and then end up putting it back 1/8 of an inch back before we add the screw on it. We can see we're doing it right here before we put the screw in place. And we end up putting a total of 2 screws in each of them. You can always put more if you want to. The drawer slide that we bought, it holds a total of 125 pounds. And there's no way you can have 125 pounds of clothes in one drawer. If you do, well, something's wrong here. And here's a look of it. I wanted to keep it that way at first. Sorry about the reflection in the back.
Cameraman, your job is on the line.
And now we started to make our sand, to sand it down, make sure it was smooth to the touch before we add on the stain. And you see we working under a good shady tree. It was an avocado tree, nice shady in the back. But it was kind of cold at first, because in California it's real cold right now. And now we started to put the stain. When we started putting the stain, at first we didn't like it because the color we were seeing. But I learned that you just have to wait until it's dry. So we learned something from putting on the stain. The next day we came back to put the second coating on it. And we noticed how good it was looking, so we ended up leaving it alone just with 1 coating. And it was looking pretty good. And after that, we ended up putting 1 paint of polyurethane on there. And you can always put more than 1 And the thing is, after your first polyurethane, it's good to give it a light sand and wipe it with a damp cloth before you put on the second coating. And this is a look of how it was looking. And again, sorry for the cameraman.
That's it. Get him out of here. You're fired, cameraman.
And now we was putting the drawer in place. We were putting the drawer handles. My wife ended up picking up the handle, a black and gold trim one. And you can see we installing it in place, and this is it. Here's the last one. Here you have it. Hope you like it. The only thing I regret in making this video is my dimensions. I could have made the drawer a little shorter and much wider so we can have more space for more clothes in the drawer. But it is what it is, and we're just thankful that we made it to the end. Well, all your comments are welcome, bad or good. If there's a question or something that you'd like me to build, leave it in the comment section below, and we'll get on it. Well, me vle merci beaucoup pour tout le monde qui regarde video ça. I'd like to say thank God for everybody that watches this video, and hit the thumbs up button and subscribe, for there's more to come. Thank you for watching once again.